Hi investigators, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with episode 250. That's right, 4 years worth of Spy Curious. It's a red letter day. I'd like to welcome everyone along that's watching. Please say hello in the chat. I'll say hello back as you go. And today we're looking at CTP liability and regulatory compliance in Victoria, building on what we talked about last week with complying with licensing applications, close associates and all that sort of stuff. But first I've got to go through some of the news this week. G'day Jamie, great to see you, mate. I think I'm switching you. There you go. Great to see you, Jamie. Thanks for checking in. I hope it's a lovely day down in Ballarat. Good afternoon, Jack. How you going, mate? My favourite island in the world. Great place down in lovely, beautiful Tassie. Amber in Canberra, great to see you. Oh, I think everybody should be unanimous in congratulating Amber on graduating with her Certificate 3 this week at the Australian Security Academy. Well done, Amber. I'm going to give you some balloons for that. I've just got to go over here. No, I'll wait a minute. G'day, Amanda from Colac. Great to see you. Promised Amanda some balloons. Here we go. Whenever something special happens, not Amanda, Amber, sorry. I've crashed already, yeah. Good on you, Amber. Congratulations on graduating this week. So well done. That's really good news. Quite a few people have actually graduated this week. It's been a very busy week. Just before we get into our CTP liability, have a look at some of the news of the week. Frank Zumba, former Chief of Staff to Craig Kelly, found guilty of indecently assaulting 4 female staff. So he's been found guilty of that. It's in the newspapers. You can Google it. He's going to be sentenced on March 26. He made some really outlandish claims about his ethnicity and how being touchy-feely is normal, where he's from, that sort of thing. Didn't fly. And all of the victims of Frank said none of them would have come forward if it wasn't for the bravery of one person. It only takes one person to say no, and then the whole thing falls down. So any pervert that's getting all sort of octopusy and touchy-feely with people, or they're sharing images online or whatever they're doing, they're creeps. And this one, he's going to be sentenced later on. So what they said, and all of them, they all worked for him, and it was the power imbalance dynamic that was the issue. If they reported it, they're all going to lose their jobs. And some of them probably did. I don't know. I can go that far into it. But I've discussed this before about the perv that was taking photos of students who were inspectors at the Toowoomba City Council and the Brisbane City Council. And if you wanted to pass the course, there's nothing you could do because he was the teacher. And he was sharing those images on social media. Not a good thing. SLED down in New South Wales have come out with some significant enforcement actions this week. So SLEDers can do this under their act, and they put it up as well. So what's happened, they've discovered that failure to disclose the person as a close associate has consequences. Now, this isn't just for security guards, it's for private investigators as well. And so this guy they found was a close associate with several security companies, and basically SLED said, well, you're not going to be doing that. And they enforce their regulatory compliance like regulators do. New South Wales, Victoria, Western Australia, South Australia, Tasmania and Queensland. That's their job. It's never very popular. It's thankless, right? Good on you, SLED. Thanks very much. Well done. And I spoke to you last week about how the Victorian LRD shut down an RTO down there where they weren't doing the right thing. No vigorous assessments. They fined the person $8,000 and a conviction was recorded. So it's great to see the regulatory compliance regulators in the investigation industry at work. And it's good on them to spread it around and let people know that they're not letting it slide anymore. Those days are gone. Okay, so what we're looking at today for our CTP liability is in New South Wales, and it's the matter of Allianz v. Chung. And it's about the tort of deceit. We're going to go through a look at how the case evolved. So effectively, this is what happened. Chung had a motor vehicle accident. He hit his head. He put in a CTP liability claim for being in that accident. The CTP liability insurer, they looked at his case, they sent him to some doctors and stuff like that. And after a long time, since the accident, he received a payout. Okay, so that's what happened. DJ, good to see you, mate. Great to see you down in beautiful Adelaide. So he's had his accident. Several years later, under common law, he gets a payout for it. Now, he wanted $1,600,000 or something in the ambit claim, but the lawyers got together and they talked and they negotiated, and I think he ended up with $750,000. We're going to look at that in a minute. Anyway, things came to pass, and Allianz did some checking, and they reckon it wasn't right. So Allianz, who had paid him $750,000, wanted their money back. Let's have a look at what happened. And you will be involved in this type of case as a licensed private investigator, conducting the investigation in relation to it. So if you want to look it up, there it is. Stop the video at this point. Write down whatever you have to, and you can look it up, and you can go through 300 paragraphs of the judge's decision and how the magistrate arrived at this decision in this case. At a settlement conference on the 9th of March 2015, the defendant, through his solicitors, prepared and relied on a schedule of damages which exceeded $1.6 million plus costs, based on a psychiatric condition allegedly caused by the motor accident in 2013, and which reflected the representations he made to medical practitioners as set out above. The claim was settled on that day for the sum of $750,000. So he signed on the dotted line. I'll take that. I'm sick. I deserve that as a common law payout. Game over. The matter's finished. Everybody was happy, and they all signed it, and they wrote him a check for that amount of money, put it in his bank account. So that's what happened. Had an accident. We're all covered under that CTP liability. Michelle, great to see you. And really good to hear you're back and on the mend. And I think I can help you with that desktop situation. So we'll talk later on. Okay, that's great to see you, Michelle. Thanks for checking in. So this is where it's at. He's got his money. That's fine. That's what happens. That's what we all expect to be protected by if we are a victim of an accident, a genuine victim of an accident. And he was at all times, and thereafter a genuine victim of an accident. The defendant told the practitioners that consequence upon July 2013, the motor vehicle accident, he experienced the following, which persisted. Now, when you're doing an investigation, G'day, how you go, mate? G'day, Joy. Great to see you. When you're doing an investigation, it's what the person claims they can't do. So you're looking at prior to the accident, this is what I could do. I was a rocket scientist. The accident, I got hit on the head, and as a result, I can now only push a broom around a factory. Right? So it's what happened as a result of it, what they can't do. So he has a lack of motivation and energy and confidence and a sense of powerlessness since his accident. an inability to read or follow complex instructions, and a cognitive impairment. He also, as a result of the accident, had an inability to work as a result of very low levels of function and concentration, an inability to drive, spending most of the time in his own room, unable to meet his basic needs. So he can't drive. Poor judgment, hygiene, and a requirement for a carer, assistance with activities of daily living, including washing, cleaning, and eating, and little contact with people, including his family, other than his carer. Now, that's his claim. That's what resulted in him being awarded $750,000. Now, if they check before the common law payer, interview the witnesses, and they say this and that and this and that, no, that's not the case, and then they get the doctors to check, and the doctor goes, oh, I don't know about that, I think you do this or do that or whatever, and then they have surveillance and they find him driving consistently, not just once, okay, but consistently over time, then the whole thing collapses. But they didn't do that. They didn't even check appropriately. What they did, they just took his word for it, took the doctor's word for it, gave him $750,000. Now, everything was fine and rosy. Absolutely great. Until, as a result of the same accident, his wife made a claim for a psychological injury arising out of the same accident. So she went along to the doctors, said this, that, and the other, and whatever, and whatever, and whatever. It's the same insurer. It's the same accident, same vehicle. So Allianz looked at that and they saw inconsistencies. They were, hang on. If she's saying she's doing that and he's saying he can't do that, we've got to look deeper into this. So in this case, it's a complete reversal. The insurance company is about to make a claim against the claimant. So basically, they're going to swap roles. What she said is she goes out and she does this. Okay, that's it. We're looking for a replacement, Casey people. Anyone that wants to arrive on time can just get in touch with me. If you can roll your eyes at my funny jokes or just, look like I'm boring or something all the time, get in touch with me and I'll put you in Casey's role next week because Casey's late this week. Great to see you, Casey. Thanks very much for checking in. All right. So she said she's doing all these things highlighted in yellow. Now, this has got a bit weird. The insurance company have got alarm bells ringing. So the insurance company now become the plaintiff and they're suing him. They are now the plaintiff. It's a complete role reversal. They say he entered into this settlement for the purpose of financial gain with the intention, which was realised, that the plaintiff would be induced and rely on the representations of these proceedings. The plaintiff adduced evidence from witnesses who had direct contact with the defendant in relation to the settlement, together with the evidence from the psychiatrist. So the allegations made with respect to the defendant's dishonesty and likely damages at the time of the settlement, but for his deceit. So this is the cruncher. They're claiming, the insurance company, that the person now, the defendant, who was previously the plaintiff and claimant, was being deceitful. Can they do that? I mean, the guy's had a hit on the head, a significant one. That can change people's behaviour. And it would be pretty rough if that was the case. So the elements as set out in the previous paragraph are as follows. The defendant made a false representation to the insurance company. The defendant made the representation with the knowledge that it was false, or the defendant was reckless or careless as to whether the representation was false or not. The defendant made the representation with the intention that it be relied upon by the plaintiff. The plaintiff acted in a reliance on the false representations, and the plaintiff suffered damage which was caused by the reliance on the representation, damage of $750,000, which they paid out to him. Now, the magistrate listened to 300 paragraphs of representations from witnesses, from people that the defendant was involved with after his payout. And there was a builder, and there was another builder. One builder was an absolutely excellent witness, and he was a really good witness because the defendant had actually sued him after he built his house. So he was quite happy to disarm the defendant, and he had a really good memory of it. And the magistrate made mention of how good a witness he was. And you can see that in this case law. There's a bit of a worry. So you can see all that and you can read it. Now, the orders are the judgment for the plaintiff is a settled amount of $570,000. So what the magistrate did, he said that the person who was previously the claimant who received $750,000 wasn't entitled to that. He had to pay $670,000 back because his injuries were not that bad. And they picked that up from his interactions through building houses, through running a boarding house, through driving. And they had him on surveillance for that. And for his wife doing some of the things that he said he couldn't do, and him ordering her to do those things, and then him having financial control when he said he couldn't do it. So that was the magistrate's orders. Now, this is the cruncher and the really important thing about you as an investigator and people as a witness in general. The magistrate made some other comments. He said, excuse me. So anyway, what he says, he makes his findings, whatever. I reject this evidence in this court in this entirely. That's what he said about the person who had the accident. Totally rejected. You don't often hear a magistrate say that. So that's quite substantial and quite significant. Then, to say that Miss Chung was an unsatisfactory witness is an understatement. I reject her evidence in its entirety. It is simply contradicted by the documentary evidence and the evidence of one of the witnesses, two of the witnesses, which I accept. That's what he said. Now, that's pretty significant. Now, what she claimed was that the interpreter who was interpreting for her at the psychologist, that sort of thing, wasn't any good. And this was a government-proved interpreter. It's serious stuff when a magistrate says that about you. Now, I dispute that. The guy was Korean. His wife was Korean, ex-wife. They divorced just after the accident. We've used Korean interpreters at the Australian Security Academy in a lot of our training. And they are absolutely excellent. Beautiful people. Excuse me. And they do a great job. We pay them, we engage them, never had a problem with any of them. We found them to be quite successful. And so have insurance companies. Insurance companies are extensive users of interpreters. So you don't go and tell them that there was a problem with the interpreter they sent to you, because every day they are using them. How did this all come about, particularly with the Korean situation? Back in 2003, we had this ship arrive in Australia and drop off some drugs. Now, the ship's called the Pong Su. And there were people on the ship who were arrested and charged as a result of it. Oops, not Oliver Jones. Okay. And the F-111s blew the ship up afterwards. There's nobody on it. Okay. And one of the interpreters in that case in the court was one that were used for this. So they're very accomplished people. The interpreters, all right, and they're not biased, and they're not one-sided, and they're not incompetent. So that was a pretty big call. And the judge saw straight through it. Honesty is the best policy. You don't lie about your injuries or exaggerate your injuries because you can be caught up with. Now, this was because of a second claim, right, from a relative in the same accident. So it was a bit of a walk-up start. But it all came together, and you can look it up and follow it and see the witnesses giving their evidence about how he had no impairment and how he demanded this and wanted that and demanded this and was checking and driving there and all that sort of thing. And it's all the way through that case if you look it up online. So really interesting case for those of you that are going to be doing CTP liability in the future. We'll make sure Casey's watching and see if we can catch her out.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And what's your excuse for being late?
I have a number of things.
You've had a very busy week, you had a very busy day, and you were here this morning, you were in Brisbane lunchtime. You've been everywhere, Casey. So, wow, I'm surprised you made it at all.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Wouldn't miss it. So, hello, everybody. Thank you for kind words. No, Mike can't replace me. And I grew up and became the boss.
Keep dreaming, Casey. Yeah, in the evidence here, I didn't see a lot of photos, but there was a lot of documents and contracts signed, Joyce. So, yeah, photos are important too, and photos are great because they can be checked for, like Pat says, you can check all the stuff on a photograph and see when it was taken, all that sort of thing. Yeah, the lawyer, if I was a lawyer for them, I'd be saying it's a hit on the head. That's what made him do it. So you can't say he did that deceitfully. It's part of his, his injury. That's what you'd think they'd argue. So. I agree, Amanda. You're absolutely right. Some of the other news, just before Casey does her thing, this is really important. This week in Private Investigators Australia, Kim was doing some searches and she had some leftover time and she offered her services free to help other private investigators out in relation to court data. She's a lovely person, Kim. Australian Security Academy graduate. We're really proud of her. And she made that selfless offer. It was very well received. And good on you, Kim. Wonderful person. This week, it's been named the occupations in shortage in 2023 that were not in shortage in 2022. Now, there's a whole government department devoted to this, all right? So what they decided, they got 66 occupations where they can't find anybody to fill the jobs. Have a look on the right-hand side. In financial services, the third one down, insurance loss adjuster. That's private investigator. That's what it is. Insurance loss adjuster. So you're doing CTP liability claims. There's a shortage of them. So what they're saying, they monitor this, and it's 2023 figures that came out. They can't have them from 10 minutes ago, but it's like the Australian Bureau of Statistics. So insurance loss adjuster, that's the number of the role, I suppose, or the career or whatever they do in government. Insurance agent, very similar thing. What they're saying are jobs that are just going unfulfilled. Now, every single employer in Australia knows that. It's no news to them. They already know that. So that's interesting that's come out this week. And there are vacancies everywhere, and I'll come back to those later on. Before my voice goes, what do you got for us today, guys?
I have more beginning of the year housekeeping for OSINT and desktop investigation practitioners.
Okay, you going to do it?
Yes, I'm ready.
Wait, you go.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Oh dear. Sorry, I've got some comments here. I'll just read those. Well, fun fact about me, Joy, I actually don't like chocolate, but I do have my ramen all over me. I just noticed in the camera, so I'm trying to hide all of that with the microphone, which was, my ramen was delicious. But okay, so today I wanted to talk about sock puppets. This is the perfect time of year to start up some more sock puppet accounts, especially if you feel like right now you don't need a sock puppet account. This is the exact time you need one. And for those of you who are very new to this and to seeing me talk, a sock puppet is a fake. Mike's mucking around in the background. A sock puppet account is a pretend account that you set up for a person, just a fake person, so that you can use that in investigations. So you're not using your own accounts, you're not using your own emails, you're not using your own Facebook, you're not using your own Twitter to do open source intelligence investigations. You are using fake ones that you have set up. And when you have older sock puppets, they are gold. So now is the time to set them up. This is your friendly OSINT reminder to set up some new sock puppet accounts, because always having new ones, well, having access to a lot of sock puppet accounts and old sock puppet accounts is invaluable to an OSINT practitioner. What have we got here? I use a fake profile on Facebook. Exactly. So this is exactly it. So this is your reminder to set them up. And for those who haven't set up a sock puppet before, this is a really, really simple way to set up a sock puppet. So before you get started, you think about what investigations you do and what states you do them in, and what kind of groups you might have to get into, what forums you might have to get into, which will represent what type of name, what type of picture you choose. So, and what type of persona. So this is a really simple example of a persona that I tend to just jot down a couple of things. It's like I do a lot of investigations in Melbourne. And so I would think I'd write down location would be Melbourne. Oliver Jones sounds like a great guy. He looks like he likes really expensive coffee, so he's definitely from Melbourne. And he's also dressed well in Melbourne again. So this is a great persona that you would put together. It's like, I always have, when I do like my yearly setting up sock puppets, I have a number of them now. You can never have enough, because sometimes they get shut down. I have never had a sock puppet shut down, ever. This is, if you follow these few steps, and I use this exact same way every single time, so it's really easy. So this is just creating a basic persona on a piece of paper so you know who you're creating. So I'm going to create 3 people for Melbourne. Actually, I would like 2 men and 1 woman. I'm going to do 2. I use Google Sheets. They're all in my Google Sheets. I've got the name, and I have a Bitwarden account specifically for all of my sock puppets as well. So a password manager for them, which is really easy to keep on top of them and just log in and go through posts and things like that. So to get a photo, this is what I do. I just took a screenshot just before. If you go to thispersondoesnotexist.com, there are more sophisticated fake face generators out there now. This one has been around for forever, but I just find it so reliable and so easy. So this lady does not exist. This is just a compilation of faces that this website has stuck together, and all you do is refresh the site and it will give you a new face. So she looks like a great person for maybe the Gold Coast or even Byron Bay, and I would name her Debbie, and she would be my sock puppet for those areas. So often, depending on the face that comes up with this person does not exist, I also take advantage of really good faces that come up like hers. To do names, I used to kind of stick to names that I know, and I would like pick an uncle's name and then a cousin's name for the last name. And the more as I've matured as an OSINT practitioner, you want names that have nothing to do with you, because if you want to leave the least amount of trail as possible. You want to make sure that you are far removed from the names and any kind of telltale information. So I use a name generator generally. So there's lots of name generators out there. You just click on any name generator and you can get a name. You can just click an English name, or if you're setting up an account that might be for someone that's in Arabic, to get that persona up and going so you can get into certain groups there. If you're doing investigations there, you can easily select an Arabic name. It'll give you a great Arabic name. And also nicknames. So I use nicknames. So once I've generated the name, so say the name generator has said that her name is Debbie Whitecastle, and then I will go to the name generator and click nickname, and it comes up with just something completely random, like worldwide, I was going to say worldwide spy curious because that's what I'm reading on there, but that's not very random, is it? But it'll come up with a random name. And then with that random nickname, I will create a Gmail. And I'll make sure that the random nickname does remotely represent the person that I am setting up a sock puppet for. So her name wouldn't be Sexy Kitten 69, would it? It would be something more mature, something closer to her name, but still like a nickname type thing, which would work really well because you don't want to flag yourself with Gmail. And so once you've set up that Gmail account, you can then go ahead, of course, set up your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter or X account, your Reddit account, all the different accounts that you would like to set up, and have them ready to go. Just log, like I sit down, it tends to be on a Saturday morning when I'm procrastinating going to mow the lawn or something. I'll just go through and log into all of them just to make sure they're all still there. And I go through with them and like different pages. So someone like this, like, she's really easy. So she looks like she might sell like, she looks like she might be a multi-level marketer type person. Like, she's got a fairly nice life and she might just sell Arbonne on the side of whatever she does. Maybe she's a nurse and she sells Arbonne as well. So I'll like an Arbonne page for the men here. Arbonne is a multi-level marketing makeup company. So you sign up and you sell their products and get a commission. So I would like that page, and then I would share that kind of stuff. And if it was a guy, like if we were talking about Oliver, then I would go through and like a bunch of coffee shops and just share like, this looks like a nice coffee. And with those little points that I make about them with their personas, then you can just go through and like a bunch of pages and what have you in regards to their persona, and yeah, get that persona going, and then makes it really easy to share things quickly when you log in to keep that account alive. And if you are doing more advanced OSINT, so say that you're infiltrating some kind of activist group you've been asked to keep an eye on because you're working for a company that's being picketed or whatever, and they need to keep an eye on a group having these, and like liking environmental things. So you go through and like Greenpeace and the Shepherd, that is a fantastic point. So I should have written down that to say to you. Thank you for reminding me, Amanda. When I set up all of these sock puppets, so say I'm setting up Oliver, I use my virtual machine, and I said that I would like his location to be in Melbourne. So I set my VPN to a Melbourne address. So I set them up in a VM and then pop through. Check if any info. Don't know how you do it. You don't have to be too picky with like, this isn't, so this picture here, you wouldn't be able to use it on a dating profile because most like dating, like Tinder and things like that, they have AI checks there. So they'll go, oh, this looks like an AI picture. Facebook don't have that. If you're looking at more advanced, then you would have to find a more advanced face generator. And that way you can go through a few pictures before they let you through the Tinder doors. But sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Really? Okay. Were you using a virtual machine when you did that? I will keep an eye out for the answer. That's a little bit too close to your own personality, Evan. So try it with a virtual machine, because the virtual machine will hide the your device number as well, your ISP. So it might work better that way. So I haven't had any trouble. I haven't set up a new sock puppet in a good 7 months. So I will go through and start doing that again. But yeah, I will let you know next week if I have more trouble, and let me know if you have trouble as well, because that might be a new thing. Sorry, I meant to say to Amanda. I see. I'm missing parts of the conversation. So yes, set up a VM. You don't necessarily have to use a VM. I probably set up 2 sock puppets per virtual machine. So I have really small virtual machines, so they don't take up much space. I'll set up sock puppets in those, use the VPNs, and then I'll delete that virtual machine. So they're just really quick and easy to set up because they've got a tiny amount of storage. I'm literally just using them to set up accounts. And I've got a number of sock puppets now. But yes, not in the past 7 months, but yeah, I'll let you know, and let me know how you go as well. So yeah, setting up your sock puppets. And if you feel like, oh, I don't really use sock puppets, just have a couple. It's never going to hurt. Even as a surveillance investigator, I really don't like it when I get surveillance investigators. They'll send me a screenshot of something that they found that they might be really proud of on Instagram or Facebook, but I can see, awesome, I can see on that screenshot that they are using their personal accounts to look at this person's information. Never, ever, ever use your personal accounts, because you will come up in a suggested friends. And look, for a good 95% of cases, it doesn't matter. The person doesn't know you're an investigator. They don't care. They're not going to look into it. But it's for that 1% or 5% of people that do care, that do cause you trouble. It's just bad. It's bad news, and it's news that you do not want. You do not want that trouble trying to untangle yourself from crazy people. Like, I'm sure most of us as adults have had some interaction with a person that you don't want to have an interaction with. You know how difficult it is. You want to avoid it at all costs. So protect your identity. So just have 1 or 2, just have a male and a female, just generic ones that you've set up that you keep alive. Do not use your own personal. Yes, very cray-cray. And there are lots out there. So, especially the ones that put in the false insurance claims, and you're like, I got you. But then, yeah, you're looking at them with your own personal Facebook profile or what have you, or signing up to a Reddit forum where they're hanging out and chatting about insurance fraud, or how to do a slip, trip and fall in like Melbourne or Sydney. So you're in there with like Casey Pine 86 as your username. Don't do that. And I see it all the time. So please let this be a reminder. Protect yourself. Do not, yes, and LinkedIn as well. To have a sock puppet for LinkedIn. For all of the accounts that you are going to possibly look at when it comes to looking into a subject, set up those accounts, and you will thank me one day, because you'll go, hey, like, either no one's crazy or this really worked, and I can put my last dollar on the fact that it actually worked. So, okay, and that's the soft puppets. Just one more thing that I wanted to remind everybody about is that if you have done investigators uni, you know that we have a fantastic trainer called Jenny Connell, and Mike got a terrible email from her today. She needs an emergency payment for a family friend who's been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. That's such a terrible thing. She's having difficulties with her account. She's not sure what she did wrong. She contacted the bank and it's going to take a while to get it sorted, and she desperately needs $1,550 US by bank transfer. And she's promising that she'll reimburse him, and she hopes to hear from him soon. This is clearly, no one's commenting. Does anybody think that this is real? Can you guys tell me? Let's play real or fake. let's play this game for fun. So I'll bring it back up again. Do we think that Jenny would be asking for $1,550 from Mike? Yes, thank you guys. Just a quick reminder that the scams are coming thicker and faster than ever before. They are constant. They are bombarding us. They are trying to just douse us in scams, because if they do that, there will be some point in time where, thank you guys, I love all this, well done. There will be a time where something will just happen to overlap. I had a friend recently, she had set up a brand new bank account and had trouble with her first transaction because it was a brand new bank account, and she had been dealing with the bank, and she got a call from a scammer saying, hey, there's an issue with your bank account. Can I confirm your last few numbers? And she's like, oh, okay, so this is mucking up. So they're literally relying on that little overlapping piece of information in your mind. And there are so many pieces of information in our lives where it can overlap. They got her, she was busy, she just got her kids from their father's house, and they were running around. She was busy just trying to manage things. So she went running for her card and then went, hold on a second. And she had her card in her hand when she realized that, oh no, she's like, who did you say you were again? And they hung up on her. So be very, very careful. Whenever anybody is asking you for any money or personal information, stop and go, who are you? And if they're saying they're from Westpac Bank and you happen to bank with Westpac Bank and you've just had some issues and you had been dealing with them, say, that's okay, I will call you back directly. And is there a number I can get you on? Say if it's Westpac, they'll still give you a generic number, but it'll be in the same office. It'll be a generic Westpac number, but you'll be able to Google it because all of their numbers will be there. Exactly. And the key thing is that, like, the good thing about this as well is that I wanted to point out that don't interact with them, because if you respond, even if you go, haha, it's a scam, it's likely that they might escalate you, because it means that the email's made it through to you, and it means that you've received the email and you've responded to it. So they're like, okay, they've seen this email from this address. Let's try it again in a couple of months, because they get to see it. We might catch them on another off day. And don't even respond saying, oh, Jenny, like, what's the account details, as a joke, because they will not leave you alone. They're like a bad smell. Once they're in the room, they're rotten eggs. If they understand that you can smell them, like, it doesn't matter. It's, if they think they've made contact, if they think they have a chance, they're like, the guy, what's his name, out of Dumb and Dumber. It's like, so I've got a chance. They will keep coming at you, so don't interact. Be very, very, very mindful. Australians were scammed out of over $545 million last year, and they were the ones that were reported. And I can tell you now, I dealt with so many people last year that have lost millions of dollars, and they did not report it. So I think it's estimated that only about 30% of scams, I'm sure Evan can back me up here with something, only about 30% of scams are even reported, because it's very embarrassing. You feel very violated. And so just remembering these things, that if you can't confirm who they are, they don't need anything. There's nothing on this earth that is desperate enough, like a bank account or anything like that. There is no possible way that you need to pull out your credit card right there and then. Not even electricity companies do that to you anymore. They know that they have processes to make sure that they can help you in a time that's, if you're late on your bill, they don't call you and say, hey, you need to pay us right now. They're like, oh, do you need a payment plan? Do you need this? Do you need that? Yeah, so much money just goes out the window. So we need to stay hyper vigilant. Speak to people about this. Speak to your friends, speak to your family. If they're dating, if they're spending lots of money on an item on Gumtree or what have you, don't forget we've got Quick Look. I can verify an identity for you within 10 minutes. If you need an identity verified, we can do mini digital background checks. We've got Quick Look as well. We've got great groups like Evan's Scam Group, who point out scams all the time. Use these tools. If you are unsure, contact me, contact Evan, because we can point you in the right direction. Even links, don't click links. Do not open PDFs from emails that you don't know. Open them in a VM. That's my best advice. Or if you don't know how to use a virtual machine, send it to someone who does and say, I'm not sure if this is real or not. Could you have a look at this for me? So we have lots of options now. Let's try and contribute this year. Other than being amazing investigators, let's try and contribute to reducing the amount of money that people lose from scams. So, oh my word. It's astounding. Like, I had the busiest Christmas with people, money just flying out the door and it's, I'm laughing because I checked out who is looking at my Quick Look website the most in the past month. So Australia is obviously number one. People are looking for Quick Look to see if they're being scammed or not. And also number two was Nigeria. So the Nigerian scammers are onto me, being onto them, which is pretty funny.
That's very funny, Casey. Thanks very much for that. The big thing about that email to me, I've had it before. And Jenny's name's actually Cornell, not Connell. They're relying on me not concentrating, being too busy to notice. That's what they're doing. So it's a really targeted one. So quite interesting that. But lucky Casey was sitting next to me when I got it. All right, people, I've got to go through the jobs because the AIPI are all here watching to try and find out what's going on in their industry association. So I've got to go through the jobs as quickly as possible. Oh, AWI over in Western Australia, very grateful to become members of AIRLAP this week. All their staff, who are Australian Security Academy graduate students, joined the Industry Association, the Academy of Investigation, Risk and Loss Adjusting Professionals for free. Good on you guys. Great achievement, great people. Been good supporters of the Australian Security Academy for 24 years. I'm really proud of that. Thanks, Gloria. All right.
See you, Jacob. Have a great day.
See you, Jake. All right. The Triple CCC in Brisbane are after a Director of Corruption Investigations. So the reward for that, for working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is going to be like a telephone number with the $ in front of it. Apply for it, people, if you've got a diploma of government investigations. Senior Assessor for Victim Assist is wanted in Justice and Attorney General Department in Queensland. Great job there. Factual Investigator at G. Hughes and Associates. This is opportunity of a lifetime. for a private investigator with a license. So G. Hughes and Associates, one of the top investigation agencies in Australia, their Brisbane department, are looking for a private investigator. Get in touch with them, tell them you're an Australian Security Academy student, and they're all members of AIRLAP. Okay. This is a good one. Down in Tasmania, they want an environmental compliance officer for Tasmanian irrigation. Basically, over in the UK, with the irrigation systems that you can see in that picture, they just about killed off the agriculture over there because they overused it and the salt rose from the bottom up to the top. So to avoid that happening in beautiful Tasmania, where Jack lives, they want a compliance officer. So really interesting role when you see that and how much they cost. We got told at one of our bush and rural surveillance programs once, very, very expensive irrigation system. YMCA in Victoria are after a safeguarding investigator. Senior Internal Review Officer at WorkSafe Victoria. The Head of Security and Safety and Wellbeing at the Convention and Exhibition Centre in Victoria. That's going to be a security risk management role. We're back with Investigations Uni next week, and a presenter that you're all familiar with, those of you that watch this program, will be presenting on security risk management, so you can get a role like that to complement your investigations role. And the surveillance operative is wanted by ProCare Group down in Launceston. I miss surveillance in Launceston. I love doing surveillance in Ravenswood. It's the best fun you can have. So there are our jobs for this week, people. Let's go and have a look at building on what I told you last week about how the Victorian Licensing Regulation Division have a very difficult job. They do a fantastic job. They get all sorts of scams thrown at them. As soon as they expose one, a new one's made up, and they've got to regulate. And this one slipped under their radar because they didn't know what was happening. So one approved Victorian RTO, adopted another one, pretended the other one was them, and fooled the LRD. You do not make monkeys out of the LRD.
Are on their website. You should be highlighting those conditions, not rubbing them out. Very important to comply with those conditions, because an RTO who doesn't comply can have their RTO status withdrawn, and all the licenses granted to the students can be withdrawn as well. It's not hard to follow. You cannot rub out the LRD's conditions and replace them with your own thought inside your head to skirt around it. 30 other RTOs comply with the LRD conditions complicitly. You can't just rub one out, shove your own in and self-award an exemption from condition 1. You can't rub out and self-award an exemption from condition 2 that 30 other RTOs comply with. You can't rub out condition 3 and put in your own exemption when 30 others comply with it. 120 licensed private investigators fell victim to this. That's 10% of the licensed private investigators in Victoria. That's a lot of investigators in an industry that needs more. The LRD regulate this industry. Implicitly, they do it fairly. They have on their website how to comply, how to get approved. It's all there, been there for 15 years. You cannot ignore that. Write in your own conditions and exemptions and do whatever you like. The LRD do a great job in Victoria, and to see people non-compliant with it deliberately is a disgrace. Equally, you cannot flaunt the ASQA standards for RTOs 2015 and not undertake a third-party training agreement unless it is written and registered with ASQA. You can't just go, oh no, I'm not going to do that, or rubbing that out. Nah, not complying with that one. No. So you just can't go, look, oh, it's the NVR Act and the regulations, and they don't apply here. We don't need a written agreement between us because we're ex-detectives from New South Wales and Queensland. And ISTA will look after us because, well, you know, we don't have to go and fill in all these forms and write out a training agreement that says who our assessors are, what third-party meetings we're going to have in relation to the validation of our assessments, and how we're monitoring things like student feedback and complaints. We don't have to have all that complicated stuff. We're just going to rub all those requirements out. And ASCA will never ever know, because what could possibly go wrong? Well, maybe down the track you might have another agreement with an industry association, and that will not end well.
In those jobs that you saw earlier on, people are at the Australian Private Investor Corporate Government Investigator jobs page on Facebook. Massel are looking for an asbestos investigator down in Victoria. ISG in New South Wales, excuse me, are looking for workers' compensation investigators. And Brennan's over in Western Australia are looking for factual and surveillance investigators. And the great people at SureFact, they're looking for factual investigators throughout Australia. Don't miss out on those opportunities, people. Thank you very much for coming in today, Casey Pine. That was a really interesting tip.
You're welcome. So it was a little bit, I should have like dot points. We'll create dot points somewhere for you.
That's all right. When we go to Investigations Uni, starting again next week, I'm sure Casey will have those dot points in her presentation to update that one. You'll get an email, people, next week about Investigations Uni and the start of our new program, starting off at episode number 78. You have been watching episode 250. 4 years. Lost by Curious. I don't believe that for 1 second. It's been amazing. We're going out in the usual way.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
Our mission is complete, people. Episode 250 is Spy Curious. We'll be back next week, like I say, with episode 251. Our theme for this week was CTP Liability Fraud investigations. Go back, stop the video, look at the case law and how they put that together over all those paragraphs and how that magistrate decided the call on that issue. It's really worth a read. Thanks for coming along, Amanda. Really great to see you. Hope you're getting better soon, Michelle. I'm sure your recovery's going really well. Pat's been in hospital this week. He'll be back on board on Monday, and he's really good. He's fine, so he's great. Operation on his ankle, and he's fine. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks, Casey.
Thanks, Mike. See you.